From Hartford, Connecticut, we welcome you to National Championship Sunday in Division III field hockey. It's the Johns Hopkins Blue Jays meeting the Tufts Jumbos. Lots on the line. Of course, that national championship at Robin Shepherd Field on the campus of Trinity College. Johns Hopkins looking for its first national title. Tufts looking for its second, as we welcome you into our coverage of this NCAA championship with the former Michigan Wolverine, Kara Lentz. I'm Drew Casey. Kara, couple of games on Friday that were thrillers, 2 one-goal winners to get here for both Tufts and Hopkins.
Just goes to show how battle-tested you have to be in order to get to the final day of the season on Championship Sunday. But you also have to give a lot of credit to the level and the caliber of field hockey that we saw on Friday.
Lily Ragusa for Tufts. The only goal, it came early in the first half. Bit of a broken play. She said post-game it was a weird goal. I'll take weird to get to the national championship game.
And you look at a lot of these cast players, and they are finishers inside the circle. You have to be diving down to the turf, laying it all out on the field in order to be coming up a champion today. It
was the 8th goal of the season for Ragusa to get the Jumbos back to the national title game for the 2nd straight year. Second game, second semifinal. It took double overtime, and the hero right here, Sophia Albano, in what was nearly became a shootout situation. The Hopkins Blue Jays, is this the year they win their first national title?
And they had plenty of chances, especially later in the game, to finish inside the circle, finally taking care of business. Defense, a big part of how this Johns Hopkins team operates. Ada Farmer was outstanding on Friday. Will be a really good matchup with the forwards coming from Tufts.
Ada Farmer in post-game said that was very proud of how she, the rest of the team, bounced back after being scored on. Couple of goals separated, one each on Friday. Could it just be one again? We are underway in the national championship game on this Sunday afternoon from Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut. Very similar color schemes for these schools. Tufts is in the white uniforms. Johns Hopkins is in the darker uniforms. Black base with the white numbers and the spirit blue accents. Johns Hopkins in the regular season won the Centennial, won it in the postseason, and comes into this game 22-1. The second-rated team in the latest coaches poll. Also, that marker in the NPI, which was used for selections. The Tufts Jumbos on the front foot here. Here's Reagan Malo. A couple of big goals that she has scored on the year. It's quickly exited from the circle. Jumbos 18-3 on the year, 9-1 in NESCAC play in the regular season. Won it in the regular season. But when it came to the postseason, upended in the semis. But maybe that was the loss the Jumbos needed. They have since run through this NCAA tournament, and the only team at this final site to have to play a first-round game. Fantastic job to get here. Big win over Dean College, got it going 11-0. Double overtime against Williams, 2-1, 3-1 over Bates. And as we just showed you, the 1-0 win over Christopher Newport on Friday. An early whistle as both teams try to feel each other out. This is the first meeting between these teams since 2019, so it's been a while.
And Tufts is just pressing really hard to start this game. Excellent ball distribution in the backfield coming from Johns Hopkins, primarily through the stick work of Ava Farmer. So Tufts being relentless on this press just to start the game. And you're going to see the exact same coming from Johns Hopkins. They're super aggressive. They can really push the defenders deep into the backfield. And then their midfield lines, just as you see, stepping up directly, coming away with some key turnovers in the midfield.
The umpires for this national championship game, it is a nod for them too as well on the field. Mallory Fedoroff and William Lehrman. Reserve umpire Chrissy Woods, video review umpire is Jerry Lucas, and that is important to remind. The referral process is available here at this final site. In Division III, each team receives 2 referrals, and we saw plenty of them on Friday.
Yeah, especially in that second semifinal game. 2 total reviews in that game. But an excellent tool for these players in this division to be utilizing the video referral process. Have mentioned this before, but it just opens up the conversation with the players on the field, the coaches, and the umpires. I think it just further enriches your knowledge of the game as a student athlete.
And it was used at some of the sites previous to this weekend, so it's not completely new to these Division III student athletes. Kaylee Robinson, a big hit, has one. And it will be the first corner after getting on through and drawing the infraction.
She is just so lethal over the ball. Continues to make plays directly inside the 25-yard line. And Johns Hopkins, even though they played 2 overtimes, they are so deep in their roster and their lineup that they're able just to rotate fresh legs on the field, and doesn't even seem like they had any difficulty recovering from Friday.
So the start of that last foul, just to clarify, started outside the circle. Advantage was granted, allowed the play to get inside. Then it was blown dead. That's why it was not a penalty corner, just the restart just outside it. Johns Hopkins getting here after the bye in the first round. A win last Saturday at home, big time, 6-0 over WPI, 3-0 over Middlebury, avenging a number of losses to the Panthers over the years, including 3 national championship game losses to Middlebury over the course of the last 4 years in 2021, 22, and 23. Looking for that elusive first title. Tracking back is Cameron Thiesing, who has the spirited color tied between the locks of hair at the defensive position for Johns Hopkins.
And these Tufts forwards are really going to have to back check to get the ball. They're going to be tightly marked, heavily marked, physical contact coming from the defenders here for Johns Hopkins. So how can you create that space and create distance and separate yourself from the type of presence you're going to have on the defense?
Slightly multi-purpose facility here, so everything in yellow, don't worry about that. Everything white lined and marked for this combination field hockey and lacrosse field. It is AstroTurf, that is important to note. Tufts, the only natural Astro team in this final site. But Johns Hopkins practiced at William and Mary earlier in this week before they came up here. That's an Astro surface. They, of course, have played on it, and they've won on it as recently as Friday.
A big adjustment when playing on an AstroTurf coming from a field turf are going to be the set pieces, especially on the attack penalty corners, and how you're utilizing a stick stopper off the direct hits.
And we saw that a variety from all the teams, stick stopper or not. A couple teams went with maybe an intentional bouncer to maybe accentuate the field turf game they have. It's Christopher Newport mainly. Takeaway here by the Jumbos, again in the white uniforms. Roughly 2 hours from Medford, Mass. It's a busy day for Tufts athletics, but this is the only national championship game. Johns Hopkins wins the free hit and goes with some pace.
Great team defense here for Johns Hopkins, too, applying that pressure and the block tackles outside of the circle. They move very well together as a unit, especially in their defensive core. That was one of the big things that came out of the game on Friday in the semifinal.
We have played a little more than 6 minutes. Both of these teams want to play with pace. Johns Hopkins, a very deep team. Tufts is too. This one came from outside the circle. Johns Hopkins very tight on the connections on the back line. Jane Wells actually called it the best performance in that all season in the semifinal. Mispass there allows for the shot coming from Tufts and sent aside from Helm. Follow-up try from Villa, but the Johns Hopkins defensive unit able to get there and slow it down.
With this solid unit defensively for Johns Hopkins, if you're Tufts, you have to be super quick on the restarts and getting inside your attacking 25 just to get the defense on the move. Initially a nice block tackle, but just the capability for Eleanor Helm to stay with that ball, and great vision by goalkeeper in regards to clearing that out to the top of the circle.
Aubrey Kilgore, the junior goalkeeper, who played 61 minutes of the 76 in the national semifinals. That's because all season long, Johns Hopkins has gone with Jessica Lapidus to play the second in goal. We'll see if that keeps up when we get there. Tufts is through again, looking for the opening goal. The reversal just wide from Eleanor Helm. Oh, the Tufts crowd was ready to explode.
Fantastic heads-up play coming from Eleanor Helm, because she's moving across the top of the circle, dragging the defense with her, and just an extra touch to give herself some time. Also an adjustment when you play on the AstroTurf is how you can set up your hits and your shots coming inside the circle. It's a lot faster. Your preparation needs to be on point, and Eleanor Helm missed that by inches off of that far post.
Right back into the circle. We'll try again. Kicked out by Kilgore. It was Helm who went down to the turf with that one.
Helm being really effective in that area of the circle. but Kilgore having excellent vision on that ball. Such a hard ball to see and to stop coming off of the reverse, but she's getting a lot of help from her defense and forcing shots to a certain corner inside the circle.
What a high work rate for Eleanor Helm over the course of the last 60 seconds or so. It remains 0-0 in the national championship game. Inches away from a 1-0 lead for the Jumbos.
And this is really the pedigree of Tufts style of field hockey this season. The 2 to 3 touch hockey, seamless in their passing schemes, using the lateral side of the field, east to west, but they are so effective in getting quality circle entries, and as you can see, getting some shots placed on frame.
On the front foot here now for a sustained stint of possession. Camille Clark, who we highlighted before the national semifinals restarts play, as it knocked away, and Johns Hopkins will look to get back at least to the midfield for a bit. A mix of players with long sleeves or no sleeves for this contest. We are in Hartford, Connecticut. We're a couple of days away from Thanksgiving, so no surprise that it's a bit chilly. Temperature 40 degrees when we started. Tufts is inside. The reversal is redirected. It had the distance. If it did, it would have gone in from Malo. The Bows putting on all the pressure. Johns Hopkins for now is holding.
And Tufts is being relentless in their press. That's how they're coming away with some key turnovers in the midfield. And then quick in transition in the opposite way, but it's just so lethal in the amount of shots or number of shots they've been able to place on frame. Kilgore, though, is having excellent vision on the ball, seeing the field really well on some of these saves.
Cameron Thiesing, the defender for Johns Hopkins, who was able to get to that. And Tufts has another takeaway. The press coming up big for the Jumbos. Turnaround, score! Eleanor Helm has had a number of chances in this first quarter, and she did not miss that one. Jumbos 1, Blue Jays nothing. A little more than 10 minutes in to the national championship game.
Three shots on net, all off of the reverse stick, and is finally able to find the top of the net here for Tufts. Just love how quickly she's being able to set up the shot. You see her hands and her feet are already being prepared as that ball is being played into space, but in total, Tufts has just been super effective in how they're pressing the ball, and their defense to offense transition is giving them these opportunities inside the circle. At this point, Tufts has to find a way to outlet the ball cleanly. The 1-2 touch passing coming out of the backfield is being immediately stopped by Tufts midfield, so being able to utilize aerials now as you close out the first quarter.
A late add to the incoming class for Tufts. How about perhaps the difference in the national championship game it could turn into? Such a player, such a natural athlete, according to Tufts head coach Tina Matera. Just knows where everyone is going and has just adjusted to this game so well. Number of chances, almost frankly scored the first goal, the only goal in the semifinal. Ragusa sent one towards goal. Helm was looking for a tap. Just couldn't quite get there. It was enough for Ragusa in the semis. Here, though, it is Helm, her 13th of the year and biggest of the year, unquestionably.
And Tufts traditionally this season, they've been starting the first quarter on a really high note. You saw that in the game on Friday, being able to hold that 1-goal lead for the 2.5 quarters after they scored is just testament to the composure of this team and being in these big game, big situations and being able to continue to push the lead, I think is something that really bodes well for Tufts.
And Tufts defensively held Christopher Newport to just 5 total shots. More than half of those were in the first quarter, and then a few late, but hardly anything in the second or third. Johns Hopkins, though, looking to bounce back and perhaps level the score. Ava Zimmerman working defensively. We have not looked to our right on this end very much in this opening quarter of the national championship game. The Blue Jays back in. We've got a whistle, an upgrade here. And it will be the first penalty corner of the title game.
This is just a heads-up play coming from Jenna Halpin. Initially, the ball even got into their attacking area of the field by a solid distribution coming from Halpin, but quick over the restart. You have to be clear of 5 yards, a 5-yard radius, in order to place that defense and put the pressure on. Even though that foul did happen outside of the circle, the chance for Johns Hopkins to have an upgrade here.
Yeah, the clear 5 coming up from umpire William Lehrman. And Johns Hopkins will set it up here on the Astro. The insert will come from Sophia Buglioni. Squad stopped at her house on the way up for dinner before they got all the way up to Hartford a couple of days ago. The stick stop, the reversal, the shot coming. What a save. It's loose along the goal line, and it's in. We're tied. Jenna Halpin sent the shot from the center on, and it goes in. We will have a look, though, as the indication from our umpire. For now, it's 1-1.
Well, a big takeaway for Johns Hopkins following Friday's semifinal game in double overtime. You have to be able to capitalize on your opportunities on the big stage, and that's exactly what they were able to do on the attack penalty corner. They framed the goal cage really nicely, and Halpin has been huge here late in the first quarter, giving her team some unique opportunities.
Now let's take a look here. It looked like Vander got a stick on it late after all this craziness after the initial shot.
And this is an umpire review. Neither team used it right here, but the umpires are taking a second look at this. And the call on the field being a goal, perhaps to see if maybe it went off the foot of a player directly in front of the goalkeeper.
A very quick look. It's 1-1. Okay, buckle up, everybody.
Just imperative on these big games for either team that you have to be able to respond immediately. Johns Hopkins is able to get inside their attacking end of the field and capitalize on an opportunity on the attack penalty corner. That gives you a lot of confidence as you continue through the game if you're able to convert on these set pieces. But of course, at this point in the season, set pieces are such a big part of how you can carry through 4 quarters. So you have to be able to have some pride and confidence in being able to close out those set pieces.
Well, Johns Hopkins really did not have much the first 10, 12 minutes on the offensive side. But to your point, get one chance, tie game, just like that.
And you can be sure in their pregame practice that there is a big focus on how these forwards and midfielders are finishing inside the circle.
Taken away by the Blue Jays, who have the energy now. It was Buglioni who inserted that corner a few moments ago to start the whole sequence. Eleanor left for the Tufts Jumbos. Johns Hopkins, though, wins the whistle. Vander sends it in. Camille Clark exits that scoring area. Jumbo's team that has allowed now 22 goals. This is the team's 22nd game. Easy math there. 1 a game allowed. Johns Hopkins even better than that with the goal allowed in the game. The Blue Jays have allowed 17, and this the 23rd game. Vander slots it through, comes up high, and real danger on the attacking team, so it will be given to Tufts. Eleanor Helm on it, opened the scoring for Tufts. Now a 1-1 scoreline with less than 90 seconds in the first quarter remaining. Helm grabs the baseline just inside the circle, and it's against Helm. Caught Helm's foot.
Great double team there coming from Johns Hopkins. Farmer immediately putting on the pressure, but had the help in the double team, and that requires a ton of communication and how you're directing the defender in front of you to channel into a block tackle in the double team.
Farmer does misfire on the initial send out of the zone. Tufts the takeaway, backs it into the midfield, and the long distance send from Eleanor Luft. Under a minute now to go in the first quarter. Tied at 1 in the national championship game. A crowd that is just juiced. And you can't really tell who's supporting who because the color schemes are the same. But it is a near capacity crowd already. Standing room only. Bring your chair if you're late. Edge of the circle for Tufts. Looking for a whistle and an upgrade here, and it will come. 11.5 seconds remaining in the first. There's a look at the crowd, and that is clearly the Jumbos faithful.
Those quick restarts are proving to be so effective for Tufts, and how quickly they're getting inside the circle. But such a unique opportunity here with going into intermission with a possible 1-goal lead if you're able to convert.
Lily Ragusa will insert. Of course, given the clock here, that could become not really needed if this corner sequence does go on. Inset to Villa. Villa fires the shot, kicked out by Kilgore. Villa back on it. And Johns Hopkins looking to clear the circle, and does, and sends it away. And the time will be valid here as we take the end of the first quarter. Tufts and Johns Hopkins, what a start to this 2025 NCAA Division III Field Hockey Championship. We will all take a breath. We'll have the second quarter coming up in just a moment here on NCAA.com. A highly entertaining national championship game through the first quarter. For the first time in 8 years, somebody not named Middlebury will win the national championship. That was an easy graphic to put up there. The Panthers have just dominated the sport. Johns Hopkins, in part led by the goalkeeper there, Aubrey Kilgore, who looks like he's going to come out for the second quarter. That's of note. We'll tell you why in a moment. But what a stranglehold the Panthers have had on this sport, and they're certainly going to continue to play a role. But this year, it will be somebody different, Tufts or Johns Hopkins. Shots in the first quarter, Tufts out shooting Johns Hopkins 6-2. 1 penalty corner per side, and 3 saves made by Aubrey Kilgore. And Johns Hopkins in the first. 1 save made by Lydia Eastburn, the Tufts goalkeeper. And Eleanor Helm and Eliza Vander, the goal scorers. Ava Zimmerman, an assist on the Vander goal after Halpin had the initial send after the insert off the corner.
And that whole play sequence really due in part to Mia Edmonds, who has a fantastic aerial coming out of that right back position for Johns Hopkins, and but on the flip side, also the ability to defend it. I think Johns Hopkins is utilizing their interior really well and being able to move up the field in really good triangles.
Caught a deflection at the top of the circle. It was then blockered away by Lydia Eastburn, the Tufts goalkeeper. Not taking any chances. And we should note on the other end in the cage, all season long, every single game, the first 23, Jessica Lapidus has played the second quarter, and mostly the second quarter only. National championship game, different story. Aubrey Kilgore remains in the goal cage for Johns Hopkins, playing her second quarter of the season.
Fantastic first quarter, too. I think you want to be able to keep your goalkeeper in, who's having such great vision on these shots coming from Tufts.
First quarter that went in sequences. Tufts and Johns Hopkins, even the first 4-ish minutes. Tufts controlled it. Sustained stint of pressure resulted in a goal. Multiple shots, multiple saves made. Johns Hopkins bounced back, controlled the play, and picked up a goal off of the corner. So the start to this second quarter, essentially a brand new game.
Spoke to the number of opportunities that Johns Hopkins had in that semifinal game. 18 shots in total, and only coming away with 2 goals. So it's just imperative that the team has the wherewithal and the confidence and the resilience inside the circle to be able to finish. You've seen that so far in the first.
And really dominated the extra time. A total of 10 of their 18 shots came in either the first or the second overtime. It was pretty quiet in the middle quarters, the second and the third for Johns Hopkins and Babson. Tufts scored its only goal early in the second, and then it was a heavy defensive dose at CNU. Tufts had a couple of chances to extend the lead, a penalty stroke that was stopped, and a rifled shot by Hannah Murray that hit the post. Still a 1-0 win for Tufts when all was said and done. Actually, their only 1-0 game of the year, which is a little bit rare in this sport. And this one certainly will not be 1-0. Alongside Kara Lentz, the former Michigan Wolverine, I'm Drew Casey, the rest of our crew. And we are at a jacked up Robin L. Shepard Field on the campus of Trinity College. National championship on the line. Here is Tufts and Hannah Picard. The team's leading scorer with 16. Tries to slot it through, looking for the corner. Tufts crowd wanting it. Let's see if Tufts, and have to be a lot quicker in live play to ask for the referral.
Ava Farmer involved in that play as well. The circle defense here for Johns Hopkins really strong, especially along the perimeter. I don't think Tufts has been able to execute inside the circle, just with how good and how stoic this defense is for Johns Hopkins as a team.
Stick-to-stick contact going both ways. Luft, and wrong side of stick does eventually come out of that. Kaylee Robinson defending. It'll stay with the Bows.
And you can just notice, too, how strong Johns Hopkins is defensively. When you look at the off-ball marking inside the circle, they are being really physical and tight on the Tufts forwards.
Johns Hopkins has lost all 3 of its previous national championship game appearances, but they've all come in the last 5 years if you include today. Losses to Middlebury in 21, 22, and 23. Tufts is making its 6th national championship game appearance and 2nd consecutive. Lost last year to Middlebury in the title tilt. It was a 2-1 final score down in Virginia. The one national title won for the Jumbos in field hockey was in 2012, a 2-1 win over Montclair State out of New Jersey.
And that's beautifully read coming from Tufts defense. Very unique in their structure out of the backfield. They can drop to a bowl in the back with 4 defenders. So if you see the press coming on you and they're cheating, so you can't get that transfer back to your deep center back, you just have to cut the field in half, and Tufts able to do that by finding the opposite sideline.
Bobbing and weaving through the midfield is Ruby Pearson. A couple of nice moments coming on as a reserve in the semifinals for Pearson. Freshman from Larchmont, New York. Look at the free hit and restart here. Powers towards Villa, but intercepted. Kaylee Robinson for Johns Hopkins with a head of steam.
These midfielders for Johns Hopkins are anticipating the ball so well in the midfield and really quick in the transition game.
Zoe Bennett sends one in for Eastburn, goes down, a couple of saves, and we'll get a penalty corner for Johns Hopkins.
Great discipline coming from the forwards here for Johns Hopkins inside the circle, just staying around the ball, having the pressure, having the presence, and just being ready to lay anything on net, and good things will happen.
Bennett, who scored second try, came up right on the body there of the defending Tufts. Gabby Sousa had to, of course, get in the way of it. See what Johns Hopkins has lined up this time already. 1 corner goal, 1 for 1 with the sequence. Last time it was Halpin, and then a mad scramble in front with Zimmerman to Vander going down in the stat sheet. Insert goes, stick stop by Robinson. Robinson actually ends up keeping it, and the pass intercepted and cleared out very nicely by Eleanor Luft.
With those lateral passes and option plays at the top of the circle, it's really up to your trail to put that pressure on and just have those shots contested, and that's exactly what Luft was able to do.
Little deke there, but Tufts wasn't buying it on Robinson because Robinson has quite the whistler of a shot. Lily Ragusa weaves it out, but a little miscommunication. Thiesing for Johns Hopkins, able to secure and gives for teammate Jenna Halpin, All-American a season ago. Those awards have not been announced this year. No one would be surprised if she's there again. Now Bono driving, and it will come out on high and stick with Hopkins.
Halpin, one of those field generals, too. Good things are going to happen when she's around the ball, but she is so communicative with the players around here and has a great game sense, very high hockey IQ, and it really has been instrumental in how Johns Hopkins is getting inside their attacking circle.
We'll talk about the offense. She's also the conference defensive player of the year on the other end, too, in the Centennial.
All-around player.
5 goals, 13 assists. The assist mark leads the team. Look out, danger! and sent away, and that'll have to be a corner. But Tufts will certainly live with that instead of a 2-goals-to-1 down situation.
A lot of pride for this Johns Hopkins team and how they press and how aggressive they can be in their press, and Tufts certainly is feeling the pressure on outletting the ball. They're not used to having this amount of pressure, and it's easy to bobble the ball if you feel the press coming down on you, the feet pattering on the turf, takes away your concentration, but great presence and pressure for Johns Hopkins here.
Really fortunate for the Jumbos. Claire Casey, the defender, Lydia Eastburn, the goalkeeper, they were almost touching each other when that pass came back. You could only think nothing good would come. It is a penalty corner for Johns Hopkins. They went with Robinson to stick set last time. No setter, it appears, for this one. It goes to Halpin. Halpin back to the inserter, deflected wide. Good idea. Looking to get it back to Zoe Bennett, who scored in the semifinal.
Well, Halpin there just staying very composed on the edge of the circle. If you do it from the right side, it is a quicker insert and it gives more of an advantage to your forehand.
Competing chance from the fan bases. Again to Halpin. Now Farmer, an extra pass across. Sent just wide by Megan Chang, but kept in by Albano of Johns Hopkins.
Quick passing at the top of the circle just bought them a little more time to find a shot on net. You really have to stretch that trail too if they're going to step up on those lateral passes and option passes.
Tufts will have it. Last touch by the Jays. So for now, Tufts has held, but the last time trying to break out of their own end, unable to do so with that near disaster along the goal line. You get the sense that if there were still timeouts in field hockey, this might be one to take one for Tufts, but of course, you can't do that. Chipped out wide. Stick obstruction. Johns Hopkins has really taken the momentum since the game-tying goal. Tufts has had very few, if any, chances in the second. Perhaps one building here, though. Malo took it away. Hannah Murray chasing for Tufts in the white uniforms. But it's Thiesing of Johns Hopkins who sends ahead and gets the free hit out of it.
One adjustment, too, for Johns Hopkins is their success in outletting the ball and how they're building their structure coming out of the backfield, but they have certainly owned the possession game here in the second quarter.
And that's something that Tufts wants to do. They want to possess and possess at will. Tough to do that in the national championship game and a surging Johns Hopkins team. Long distance from Halpin. Settled and cut across by Megan Chang, the Elite 90 award winner of this championship for the highest GPA. It's a perfect 4.0. And majoring in neuroscience is the senior from Houston, Texas.
Megan Chang is just an absolute athlete. How she directs her play on the left midfield is really impressive. She is really good at understanding the angles and cutting away defenders, but she just always seems to be around the play when something good happens.
Somehow that was kept in along the far sideline. It does allow the ball to come through the circle. Johns Hopkins trying to win it back and is able to do so with Zoe Bennett. Everyone watching intently here from the campus of Trinity College. Championship Sunday across all of field hockey in the 3 divisions. Farmer on the chase here, should be able to keep it, and is able to do so. Sent in by Coward, looking in the direction of Chang, but nicely done by Claire Casey, who had a huge game in the national semifinals defensively for the Jumbos.
And she has such a variety in her ball distribution. She can do the aerial. She has a fantastic sweep, can make it stick to stick.
And the aerial here jump starts this. Tufts is through, one-on-one with the goalkeeper. The Jumbos looking for the 2-1 lead, the round off. And Johns Hopkins has recovered. Tufts didn't even get a shot off. Now the other way. Zoya Iyer was screaming for the ball on the near sideline. Johns Hopkins sprinting up the bottom of your screen, but it just couldn't get in that direction.
Solid play, too, by Claire Casey. Excellent in her transition defense.
So we remain 1-1. Both teams scoring a goal in the first quarter. First, it was Helm for Tufts, and then it was Eliza Vander from Ava Zimmerman for Johns Hopkins to tie the score off a corner, with the initial shot coming from Jenna Halpin. We've had no cards in this game, and it's been clean. Probably the most possession Tufts has had sustained in this second quarter right here. Over near the corner cone. Knocked away, it will be Johns Hopkins' possession. It was Kate Waller over there.
Johns Hopkins also being super effective and how they're taking away the vision here for Tufts forwards. They are trying to go into the double teams around the perimeter of the circle. Have to find a way to open your body up and drop that ball back. Get this Johns Hopkins defense on the move and see if you can switch sides of the field to get a quality circle entry.
Tufts goes back to Casey to distribute. Pass nearly intercepted. It came up on the chest of the Jumbo's Villa, but first Hopkins infraction.
We've talked about the aggressive behavior of Johns Hopkins on the press, and one of the things that allows them to do that is their depth on the team with the fresh legs that they're able to put out on the turf, and that just provides a lot more zest on your press and how hard you can push for the entire game.
With the off day yesterday, Dowd comes into play, but we should note Johns Hopkins played a double overtime game. Tufts, it was a regulation finish in the semifinals on Friday. But again, the off day yesterday and adrenaline, that certainly comes into play when you know this is the last game of the season, regardless of win or lose. This will probably be allowed to go in, but of course does not count as we tick towards a minute to play in the second quarter. Stick down nicely by Ellie Wilkins. Wilkins sends in. Play continues. Wilkins a push from behind. That's going to be a clear whistle. Tuff sends in. Comes up high. Dangerous play. Whistle down.
Really impressed with the composure right now for Johns Hopkins and how they're outletting the ball with that Tufts press that's happening right at the 25-yard line. They're not forcing any errors or playing it into a field or making an errant pass, but really holding their ground on the defense.
Jumbo's trying to steal along the near sideline. And that was Hannah Picard, who's been very quiet this weekend, but it doesn't take much to jumpstart the leading scorer for the Jumbos. 16 goals. Less than 10 seconds now to play in the half. Johns Hopkins looking for a late rush, and that flies out over the end line, and that will do it for the first half of play in the national championship game here in 2025. And well, Kara, Tufts certainly on the front foot early, led 1-0. Johns Hopkins answered, and Blue Jays a slight advantage likely heading into halftime.
Started to gain a lot more confidence there in the second quarter, and when you're able to convert on your set pieces, that will give you the confidence. You see Johns Hopkins right now just being relentless in their pursuit.
Well, the national championship game so far, it certainly has delivered. Second half is coming up in 10 minutes. That trophy is up for grabs. The fan bases of both sides have seen a clinical 30 minutes. A goal from Eleanor Helm started things for the Tufts Jumbos. What a reversal to score there. And then off a corner, Johns Hopkins tied it late in the first quarter. Vander gets credit for the goal right in front. It's 1-1 at the break. a look at the goals from the first half of play. Got things going with a just whistler on the backhand from Eleanor Helm.
Yeah, Eleanor Helm having 3 shots in the first half and is finally able to convert on a beautiful reverse chip. And then Johns Hopkins really taking care of business on the set pieces by converting on their first corner opportunity to tie this one at 1 apiece.
The shot came from Halpin. You see Zimmerman 4, Vander 1. They each got pieces of it. Vander credited with the goal. Here's a look at the statistics from the first 30 minutes. The shot 6-4 in favor of Tufts, but all 6 of those shots in the first quarter. In the second, Johns Hopkins outshot Tufts 2-0. 3 saves apiece. Penalty corners, 4 for the Blue Jays, just 1 for the Jumbos.
And Johns Hopkins will continue to push inside the circle, earning those attack penalty corners. They're having a lot of confidence right now in how they're performing on those set pieces. That's going to be key as you carry out the next 2 quarters.
Johns Hopkins starts with possession, sends ahead. Dark uniforms for the Blue Jays, black in color with the spirit blue trim, the white numbers. Tufts in the white unis with the blue numbers, some brown trim as well. We welcome you to the second half of the 2025 National Championship game with former Michigan Wolverine Kara Lentz, the rest of our fantastic team here in Hartford, Connecticut. I'm Drew Casey. We perhaps are just now 29.5 minutes away from crowning a new national champion for the first time in 8 years in Division III field hockey. Both teams in their post-game comments following the semifinal wins, when they either knew or didn't know who they were playing based on the order of the games on Friday, said, if we stay true to ourselves, what we've done all season long, we like our chances in the title game. And I have to imagine that's what both coaches are going to try and stick to in this second half. Thiesing will come back. I wonder how long it took to get the hair. It looks great. That must have been a process.
Great job here by Jenna Halpin, and just coming over to the sideline to add that interior pass. She's so diligent and good at how she can read the press and what she can do off ball in order to open herself up at that screen position for Johns Hopkins. And this is going to be a big focus point for Tufts, so how they can outlet the ball. You want Claire Casey around that. They will have to utilize the aerials because of how aggressive Johns Hopkins continues to be on their pressing lines.
And both teams consider themselves to be deep teams, but the edge in that department is going to go to Johns Hopkins. They'll run 20. No problems at all, even in this title game.
Yeah, just look at the box score from the Friday semifinal. 9 field players rotated on the turf for Johns Hopkins. It just keeps the legs fresh and the intensity high if you can have such a deep roster as they do.
And one thing that Jane Wells, the head coach of Johns Hopkins, has noticed in the last couple of weeks, especially when they've been going more starters versus reserves, if you will, or transition players, is that our second team is really, really good. It makes those practices, in some ways, harder than some games. Probably not the national championship game or the national semifinals, but others for sure.
I mean, if you just look at the logistics of that, you can do full field scrimmage with your entire team with subs when you have a roster that is that deep. And it really just gives you an added benefit in preparation in the competitive level before you go into each game on a weekend.
30 on the Johns Hopkins roster. You can only dress 24 for an NCAA tournament game. Tufts has 22 on the roster, so 8 fewer players. One of the smallest rosters Coach Matera has had since COVID, probably the smallest. Johns Hopkins is through in the circle, and it will be a penalty corner for Johns Hopkins as Albano draws the foot contact of the defender.
Kaylee Robinson is so aggressive inside the midfield, and she really opens up a lot of space for her teammates, but she's also talented at finding those angles and cutting off the defense. Extremely deceptive over the ball as well, and that also buys you some extra time in being able to connect with your teammates.
This will be the 5th corner for Johns Hopkins in the game. Tufts only 1. The Blue Jays had 1 in the first 3 in the second, and here is number 1 of the 3rd quarter. It comes a little more than 3 minutes in.
You're always going to key in on Jenna Halpin, set up at the L1 position for Johns Hopkins.
Zoe Bennett will insert. Looks like Farmer might stick stop it here. It goes that direction. Yes, Robinson, who has a big hit. Robinson moving right, tries that big hit. It's loose in front, nearly covered, sent away. Back to Robinson. Robinson through. A couple of bodies bouncing, and it caught a piece of the defender. And for the initial call is penalty corner, but we are going to get a referral that Tufts has asked for.
That was a great deke at the top of the circle by Robinson and just bought her some added time with getting a key shot placed on net directly on the ground.
So this does go to video review. Mallory Fedorov, the on-field umpire on this end of the field. We'll go up top to Jerry Lucas, who has the VR, and we'll take a look. We'll show you what we have. One thing to note, the video review umpire does have access to more camera angles, some that are fixed around the stadium, in addition to what we are going to show you right here.
So it was after that rebound coming off of the pads, and you saw the ball lifted there. Corner initiated right along the baseline, but Tufts defense immediately going over to the umpire, asking them to take another look at this.
So you had two Tufts players there, both Ragusa, who claims to have gotten it cleanly with the stick, and it looks like the body of Eleanor Luft perhaps was able to avoid any contact too. But tough to tell on that first touch what it was. Tufts was very emphatic very quickly, and you need to be, to initiate the referral process, but that was almost before the ball was even out over the baseline there.
You do have limited time when going over to the umpire asking for the video review.
Johns Hopkins is staying loose. Likes the stadium DJ's tunes right there.
Sometimes a bit of an adjustment, especially in the colder weather with stoppage of time on the field for the video review process.
So the decision has been rendered from up top. And it is a no advice possible. So that means the call stands. However, the referral is not lost. Still 2 remaining for the defending Tufts Jumbos. So Johns Hopkins will have an opportunity here. Again, it will be a penalty corner here in the third quarter of the national championship game. The insert goes, handled by Farmer, across for Halpin. Back to the far side, send, kicked away. The shot came, and it's finally stopped and blown out. Megan Chang almost made it 2-1.
Bit of a miscue at the top of the circle. The insert pass just a little off, so you have to make that adjustment. If you're the primary hitter, you now have to stop that ball and just make a play out of this. But Johns Hopkins is able to keep the play alive. Tufts defense standing strong directly in front of the net.
Yeah, I'm not sure they wanted Farmer to touch it first there. It actually been Caitlin Coward who fired that shot. Regardless, out of the woods. And Tufts will work from right to left here.
Fantastic vision there coming from Megan Chang. She just sees the field so well, is constantly scanning and trying to find the spaces in the midfield where she can attack, and she's quite effective with it.
Johns Hopkins possession on the front foot here with Bennett, and that will be upgraded. Might have even been in the circle anyway. For a penalty corner again for Johns Hopkins.
Mention how aggressive Johns Hopkins is on the press. Will that also translate into how aggressive they can be on these restarts? One of the parts of their game plan that enables them to get inside the circle so effectively. But if you're taking them quickly and you're going down with speed, you're going to pull the foul from the defense outside of the circle. And the opportunity, again, to be upgraded.
The 1 goal for Johns Hopkins off a corner. This is the corner for the 3rd time of the period. Looking like a stick stop. Halpin might get set to rip. Chang is the one who appears to be setting. Different look than we've seen First touch for Robinson, who can sling it as well. Now goes for Halpin. Sticked away. Nice defensive work by one of the four that flew out of the cage for Tufts.
Excellent read there coming from Hannah Picard on the fly position. Is just able to keep the play in front and then continue to push the ball out of the circle. Really quick off the baseline too. That's why you see Robinson didn't really have much time to get a play off. Talk about the confidence for Johns Hopkins on the attack penalty corners, and that's the same on the defensive end too. You have a lot of trust and confidence in your group when you're setting up in the goal cage, and that will really play out in the end.
Johns Hopkins surging here, unable to score so far in the second half, but certainly have kept the better of the play. Really going all the way back to the game tying goal at the end of the first quarter. Ruby Pearson in tight with Gabby Sousa for Tufts. And knocked away in the midfield. Robinson of Johns Hopkins, but right on back to Tufts and Malo.
And that's exactly what Tufts needs to do for their forwards. Because of the difficulty that Tufts may have without letting the ball, you have to have your forwards cutting back to be able to get possession.
Great defensive play by Jenna Halpin of Johns Hopkins.
She just always seems to be around the big play on the field. So athletic, great endurance as an athlete too, and the space that she covers.
It was a third-team All-American honor last year. Graduate student from Locust Valley, New York, perhaps shooting for a higher one. We'll see when those awards come out. But number one, I think a national championship would do wonders. Tufts has had limited chances since the first quarter. Not going to take advantage of what could be one soon.
Johns Hopkins is just doing such a solid job marking in the circle off ball and giving a lot of trouble for these forwards to even get open.
Caitlin Coward, who's had a strong weekend, sent that one ahead now for Albano. It came from outside the circle and allowed to fly in by Eastburn.
Ava Farmer, one of those defenders for Johns Hopkins that is able to mark tightly outside of the circle too. Extremely physical.
Big hit coming from long range, but too high on the bounces, and the danger symbol comes. Actually, they're going to say it on the initial send, so the free hit placed where it came from. Both goals in our national championship game so far back in the first quarter, separated by less than 2 minutes. Eleanor Helm, after Tufts really dominated for a stretch of play. And then Vander from Zimmerman from Halpin. Halpin just does not get an assist, though, in the first quarter. And since then, Johns Hopkins has had the advantage in terms of chances. As the clock continues to tick here in the second half, we get ever so closer to perhaps the next goal being the national championship game prospective winner.
Mia Edmonds has just been so effective in defending those aerial balls, coming into the midfield and doing it cleanly. But really her decision making too after coming away with that possession, immediately inserting it to the center of the field to a player like Jenna Halpin.
Coward's pass for Halpin a little bit too far in front, stolen by Clark, but then jarred away by Coward, and it keeps trading places. Sousa's pass. Now Malo.
Sousa using her entire stick on that block tackle to come away with the takeaway. Impressive.
It'll be Pearson to restart here.
You have an understanding of how limited the opportunities are for Tufts on their offense by the hesitation over these restarts and self-starts for Tufts. I think you just have to be able to do those quickly to get this defense on the move, or even committed to you out beyond the circle where some spaces behind might be able to open up.
Claire Casey, big send blocked by Megan Chang, and Johns Hopkins might have some odd-numbered rush. Chang, though, harassed by Casey from behind, allows it to be sent wide. and back the other way.
You want one of your top ball distributors closer to your attack, and that's exactly why Claire Casey was so high up in the midfield, trying to thread the needle inside the circle.
Heady play by Eleanor Helm to extend this further now for Malo into the edge of the circle, and does fly out of play.
Again, the double team defense for Johns Hopkins continues to be effective inside their defensive circle. And Ava Farmer is always going to be one of those players that is helping direct how the double team will operate.
Under 5 minutes to play in the third quarter, under 20 minutes of regulation time remain. Big lift by Bennett there. Got it all the way through the midfield. You hear the "Let's Go Jumbos" chant for the Tufts faithful. Going to help the defense on, and control is gained by Lily Ragusa, but then lost. Trading places between the heroes of the semifinals. Ragusa lost it to Albano, and now Albano wins the corner for Johns Hopkins.
Recipe for success in this Johns Hopkins team is how quick they are on those restarts. And again, you're just going to pull the defense outside of the circle, but because of how hard you're pushing and dribbling the ball, you're going to pull the foul. Continues to be a big part of this game for Johns Hopkins.
Corner number 4 of the quarter and number 8 of the game for Johns Hopkins. Seen a variety of looks. And it looks like we will see the latest variants for Johns Hopkins here. Sophia Bullioni will insert, who inserted on the game's first goal. Farmer looking to stick stop, Robinson nearby. The stop, Robinson holds. Robinson back pass for Halpin. Didn't get to her though. Still Robinson, thought about the reversal. Still playing. Robinson lost the ball on launching the stick. And Halpin sends back in. Then Tufts defends and appears to be out of the woods, yes.
Fantastic coordination on that play coming from Tufts defense with the fly position and the trail, but again, a little miscue for Johns Hopkins on that pass at the top of the circle. Just gives the defense a little more time to make a play.
Second time we've seen that on a corner for Johns Hopkins. Back in front of goal for Casey. There was trouble in a similar pass in the first half. It did not lead to a goal, but it was nervy, to say the least. Not so much there, though.
Good adjustment there coming from Casey, too, and scanning the field before she receives the ball, but also changing direction. Going to have to be a little more deceptive on those outlet passes coming out of the backfield for Tufts.
Well, these teams have been here before in the national championship game. Tufts last year and fell. Johns Hopkins the 3 years prior. 21, 22, 23. Dropped all of those. And all those titles to Middlebury. Tufts, to their credit, they were a little jittery last year. It was an admission. This year, play our game, we'll be okay.
And also a team, according to head coach Tina Matera, a team that's completely bought in, and that was a big conversation that they had in the offseason. And basically, if you're not 100% committed to this program working toward a national championship, don't come here. Don't be here. They want to have a team that is fully committed, and a lot of their culture and personality is also how these players act and behave on the sideline, and is a big thing for this team and how close they are.
A tough squad that graduated 5 starters, needed to fill 6 starting spots at the beginning of the season. Certainly a talented group, but beginning of the year, not necessarily quite sure how it was all going to look.
I think you got to be pretty happy with how it looks now.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Big key turning point, mid-season, games against Amherst and Bates back-to-back. Winning both of those has really helped propel Tufts to this point. NESCAC regular season champs. The blip in the NESCAC semis, had to watch the championship game played on their own field later that weekend. But I think anyone would trade a national championship for a conference tournament championship.
And NESCAC always just incredibly strong. Your conference season will prepare you for the national championship. But in that semifinal, this Tufts team didn't put up a single goal, got shut out, comes back around in the first round of the NCAA tournament and puts 11 goals up.
Yeah, that'll kickstart the postseason continuation.
Yeah, you're starting your tournament with a bang, that's for sure.
Tied a tournament record for goals produced by a team in a single game. We're not going to get anywhere near that number in this one. Sent wide as we are under a minute to go in the third quarter. Lifted by Casey, perhaps looking for Wilkins. It gets all the way through. Here's Riley Schmidt into the game. First time we've mentioned Schmidt's name all weekend. And a whistle and a stoppage, and we've got a card coming. The first one we've seen. It is a green card against the Jumbos.
Well, as a forward, too, on these aerials, you really try to play for the miss. So that way you can get behind the defense and a better opportunity for a breakaway directly in the circle.
So Schmidt shown the green card. 2 minutes of penalty time go up on the board. It will likely carry over into the fourth quarter, especially with Tufts possessing here, and likely the plan to possess until the end of the quarter, which now has just 12 seconds remaining. We'll get a carryover of about a minute and a half. Tufts sends from distance, well outside the circle. Hits the boards, but of course, it remains 1-1. 1 minute, 29 seconds of carryover time to the fourth quarter. We are tied in the 2025 National Championship game. Tufts 1, Johns Hopkins 1. Don't go anywhere. Fourth quarter, right after this. It's what you dream about, hoisting that national championship trophy. It could just be 15 minutes away for either of these sides. The title tilt hangs in the balance, tied at 1 between the Tufts Jumbos and the Johns Hopkins Blue Jays. Well, away we go, Carolines. This should be a fun finish.
Going down to the wire. I mean, Johns Hopkins has actually been set up at the midway of the field for at least a minute before that intermission expired, so they're ready to go.
Like runners in a gold medal race at the Olympics. Take your mark.
Speaking of a race, the way Johns Hopkins started in that semifinal game against Babson, it was an absolute track meet. Could barely catch your breath.
There was 1 minute, 29 seconds of carryover green card time to allow for the player advantage for Johns Hopkins. This is Tufts with it, looking to kill off that time and then some. Under a minute now remains. 50 seconds of that advantage time. It'll take us down to about 13:30 on the clock. Good sequence of passing, shorthanded for Malo towards the corner of the field. Thiesing fighting for it. It does come out, last touch by Thiesing. With the green card time down to 22 seconds remaining. Shots in the third quarter, Johns Hopkins 3, Tufts 0. Tufts all 6 shots in the first quarter. Penalty corners now 8-1 in favor of Johns Hopkins.
And that's going to be an area that Johns Hopkins really needs to focus on, is how they are executing. Saw 2 corners that went wrong, so they have to kind of dial back in as they approach those.
The green card time has expired. Eleanor Helm enters the game in place of the green card shown to Schmidt late in the third quarter. Again, if you're just joining us, of course, similar colors amongst these two competing institutions. Tufts in the white uniforms, Johns Hopkins is in the black uniforms. And both sides looking for a national championship here this afternoon in the capital city of Connecticut.
It's amazing to me that a player like Ava Farmer only played about 10 minutes per game last year at the center mid position, and this coaching staff really doing a lot with putting different players in different positions. They constantly were experimenting with it, and only shortly before their preseason started, they decided to move Farmer to that center back position, and could The rest is history.
I think it was a good call?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good one. I would say so.
Again, only a sophomore in that position. A lot of responsibility being conducted from the center back.
Head coach Jane Wells picking up her 300th career win earlier this year. Did it against Haverford in a 2-0 win. Now 307 career wins, 155 at Johns Hopkins. Other side, there is head coach Jane Wells. Will the program be hoisting that national championship trophy shortly? Other side, the Tufts Jumbos. Tina Matera, 22nd year, 21st season, does have a title. Picked up her 300th win earlier this year as well. 304 wins now. Midfield take and run for a bit before the drop-off. Sent up by Grace Knockolds. A couple of names we haven't said until the second half. That's the Hopkins depth playing a role. Malo run into by Thiesing, and the stick is lost. They're going to stop the clock to allow for the regain of the stick and all, to make sure all is well.
Beautiful ball movement there coming from Tufts in the midfield, and just having that two-touch hockey, but opening up your body and opening up the field, being able to execute two on the right sideline. But Katarina Villa doing a great job with just solid ball movement for this Tufts team.
Ruby Pearson for the Jumbos. Again, no shots for Tufts since the first quarter. That doesn't matter, though. The next shot from either side could be a lifetime memory. Either way, the full experience will be remembered for a lifetime, but you want to have the very top of that pyramid, if you will. This is Villa after the takeaway for the Jumbos. Villa accelerates, Halpin comes through and knocks it away.
Tufts to start this fourth quarter, playing with a lot more urgency around the ball. Like to see these self-starts being taken quickly inside their attacking 25.
Sent in and then sent quickly out. A touch here for An Tran, sophomore from Ashburn, Virginia, seeing some time in the fourth quarter of the national championship. So too is Zoya Iyer on it here. Another sophomore from Dallas, Texas. A little bit colder here today than there.
Great first touch there coming from Halpin, and continuing to receive that ball on the go will just give you another threat as an attacker in the midfield.
The cards pass for Eleanor Helm. Helm on this one. Edge of the circle, now inside it. The goal scorer from the first quarter. Very creative player, and sends it wide.
And you notice a double team here, too, for Johns Hopkins. They're just trying to push Helm out to the exterior of the circle. You take away her vision, and you take away the time that she has with the ball. But as we saw in the first half, she can still get those shots off.
Yeah, just about anywhere.
Can't count it out completely.
Second team All-NESCAC this year. Highly motivated student athlete. Defensively, touch for Pearson. Now turns to the O for Johns Hopkins, looking for Chang. Couple of bodies both sides. A whistle against Johns Hopkins.
Just relentless in their pursuit on the press, putting that pressure on the ball. About three different players for Johns Hopkins trying to get a turnover.
Foot race. Farmer's going to win it, at least initially, from Helm, but Helm takes it away. Eleanor Helm, three defenders, drops it on back. The Jumbos. This is Murray, who was robbed a couple of times in the national semifinals. It's exited. And Johns Hopkins will try and use the sideline with Zoe Bennett.
Great discipline coming from Johns Hopkins inside the circle on the defense, moving really well together as a unit. And quickly outletting the ball, too. Even if Tufts is inside the circle, they are not giving them any time to play make with the ball in the 16.
This is Ragusa. Out wide for Kate Waller. Freshman from Towson, Maryland, restarts play. Casey from distance got a deflected stick, but it'll be whistled dead.
Tufts looking for that added power on the attack. Claire Casey playing much higher in the defense into that midfield. And she can really connect 50-yard pass stick to stick inside the circle.
Halfway complete with the fourth quarter. 7.5 minutes remain in regulation time. Tied at 1 in the national championship game. Ragusa sends edge of the circle. Murray looking for control. Instead, though, it's Robinson of Johns Hopkins, player down, but Helm appeared to already be falling down. Does win the whistle, though.
Great heads-up play, too, by Tufts, recognizing the ball is outside the 25, so it does not need to travel 5 yards before entering the circle. Really quick off of that free hit.
Now under 7 minutes to play. Tufts has had its most possession in this fourth quarter compared to the second and third for sure. Whistle to restart play. That was just a little too quick. If we do remain tied after this clock expires, we would go to sudden death overtime, up to 2 10-minute periods of 7-on-7. And as the clock gets ever lower, you almost get an effective sudden death situation, where the next goal becomes more and more likely to be the difference. If there is a next goal, we should clarify.
Excellent team defense there coming from Johns Hopkins, and speed, one factor now on this counterattack.
Albano already a hero once this weekend. Working on Casey, sends in. Look out, ball is loose, and it's nearly chipped in. Just wide from Chang.
Talk about game awareness, too, for Chang. Recognizing that the goalie was down on the turf, and if that's the case, you want to get a lift on the ball. Hard to do off your reverse in a short and small amount of space, but Chang's still able to stay with the play. Goes just outside that far post.
And you saw him miss the first time, but almost by missing, created a better angle for herself.
Excellent ability just to read the play inside the circle.
That was nearly it for the Elite 90 Award winner of this championship. Highest GPA. Perfect 4-0. They're going to stop the clock here for, I'm not sure why.
So we're told that the game has been stopped just to be able to control the fans here at the stadium. Have already been talked to a couple of times. Emotions are high.
A lot on the line. Under 5 minutes now in regulation time remain. Championship Sunday off to quite the start. D3, D2, D1 all underway in title games. We got things going first, and here is a penalty corner coming for Tufts. Johns Hopkins is going to use its referral.
You have to be able to pull it out of your back pocket at this point in the game with just over 4 minutes left. Johns Hopkins defense has been stout inside the circle, not only with their double team, but also not fouling against this Tufts offense. Circle entry here coming from Helm just outside the circle. Looked to be a pretty clean block tackle, at least from that perspective, from Johns Hopkins.
The call on the field was penalty corner, and this is a team-initiated referral. Johns Hopkins using its first. And you get 2 in Division III, so with 4:36 to go in the fourth quarter, can't take them home with you. You can't redeem them for a free shirt at the merch tent. Let's see here, another look.
It's a great take there by Helm, too. Receiving in on the move and in space.
Yeah. Mia Edmonds, perhaps the player who jumped through it. The little wedding sachet there. From that look, may have gotten out of the way. Tough to tell. And again, the video review umpire does have additional looks.
And also the ruling on the field being a corner, so having enough evidence here to overturn the call on the field. And these video reviews, they are momentum swingers, I think, in the game of field hockey.
And some of the best umpires in the entire nation descend for these final weekends. The best of the best, which traditionally trickles down to Division I officials everywhere at all the championship sites.
Quite the accomplishment for
absolutely.
The officiating crew to be able to officiate in the national championship game. Congratulations.
William Lehrman, Mallory Fedorov on the field. Video review umpire is Jerry Lucas, taking a close look currently. And Chrissy Woods is the reserve umpire down at the table for this national championship game. Taking a long, hard look at this to see if advice is possible to be given, or if not. The decision has been rendered, and one of these fan bases is about to be excited, one not as much.
Again, I just really love the conversation that the video review allows for these players and student athletes to have these discussions with the umpires. I think just further benefits their intelligence and hockey IQ.
So the Tufts referral is successful.
Yeah, their defense is not fouling inside the circle at all. Even with the number of players they are placing around the ball, still able to keep it out of a dangerous area and hitting their feet.
A battle on for possession. I don't see this very often in that spot to perhaps decide a national championship. And it breaks out for Johns Hopkins momentarily, but then Ragusa back for Tufts. So both teams still have both referrals, by the way, with what we've seen so far today. Johns Hopkins successful to keep the referral. Tufts kept it because there was no advice possible to be given when they wanted to take a look. Under 4 minutes now in the fourth quarter of this national championship game, which is tied at 1. The lights are turned on, by the way, here at Trinity College. We've had a great championship, Kara, but we did not see the sun once.
True, it's always 70 and sunny. I've taught you this. True. It's the mentality.
There you go, lights on, cloudy day, overcast in the northeast. But it is, it's not freezing, 41 degrees. You see long sleeves of some, bundled up on the sidelines, but plenty of players with short sleeves or no sleeves.
Fantastic aerial there, cuts all the lines in the midfield against Johns Hopkins.
Tufts edge of the circle, trying to cut in. Villa nearby. Good defense by Robinson, who's run into by Ragusa. Play continues.
Team defense has just been such a strong point for Johns Hopkins in this game. Continues to stand out.
Waldeck out wide for Sofia Albano. The game winner in double overtime in the semifinals. Albano is through and just across goal mouth off the pass. Chang nearly again.
Excellent play right along the baseline and just being patient with the ball, knowing that your teammates are positioned off of that far post and at the stroke mark. And what I loved about Albano and how she was able to close out that semifinal game, and we've mentioned how many opportunities Johns Hopkins had in that game, 18 shots, but just not the capability to finish inside the circle. Albano had the perfect play. Team was passing right in front of net. She decides to keep it and lift the ball to find the back of the net.
Chang was able to get a lot on that from a sharp angle and a quick pass. Second time that Megan Chang has nearly put Hopkins ahead late in this game. Now under 2 minutes to play fourth quarter. Again, if we're tied, we would go to overtime. 10 minutes of 7-on-7. That Jumbo's up through, looking to avoid that.
Anticipation there coming from Edmonds, just does a great job of stepping up to the ball. And at this point in the game, with the game on the line, you have to be very diligent with your decision making, especially in your defense. If you step up and overcommit, you could expose your defense.
Kaylee Robinson sends the pass up ahead. Albano going to work again, but unable to get possession, or a corner rather, out of it. Keeps possession. Across for Cameron Thiesing as we tick towards 1 minute to go in regulation time. The cut in by Caitlin Coward. Right back out of the circle. Jenna Halpin. Third party obstruction, wins it for Johns Hopkins, but cleanly taken away. Reagan Malo cuts through two Johns Hopkins defenders. Malo finds Eleanor Helm. Helm tries to chip through, but the stick kept down by Johns Hopkins defensively. Nice work applied by Edmonds.
We talked about the decision making, going up on the ball and making a play, but just having the confidence that you can make the play, come away with the turnover. Edmonds has been impressive on that weak side defense.
The clock stopped and then it started and it stopped again. I'm not sure why. I don't think there was a whistle to stop it. Regardless, we're back to it. Under 20 seconds to go, fourth quarter. A Johns Hopkins player has gone down to the turf. Full head of steam for Tufts Hannah Murray. 10 seconds to play. Thiesing blocks. Pearson reverses with pace in the circle. Between some legs, and it hits a Hopkins defensive leg. And Tufts will have a penalty corner with 3.5 seconds to play.
Incredible persistence here coming from Tufts. It has been a wall of defenders outside the circle for Johns Hopkins. But Tufts being able just to stay with the play, understanding that time is ticking down, so you just want to be able to throw the ball in the circle and let your forwards do the work. That's exactly what they do. And not very often Johns Hopkins fouling on their defense.
And just a reminder, 3.5 seconds, irrelevant here for the penalty corner sequence. The defense must clear out. So Tufts does not have to fire and score before the clock hits zeros. You might even hear the horn, and the national championship game will still go. Ready for potentially a national championship game-winning goal. Bounces on Helms and caught her foot. And that's it for regulation time.
Ton of pressure on these student athletes in closing out a national championship game in regulation. But all of the particulars on corner have to operate. Just a little bit of a bobble set up on the right side on this attack penalty corner, and Helm maybe just lost sight of the ball. And the foot foul will have time expired. That's tough.
So now a recovery needed for both teams. The next one will win it. We will go 7-on-7 after a break. Johns Hopkins won, Tufts won. What a finish on the way from Hartford, Connecticut here on NCAA.com. What a national championship game we have had so far. The opening goal from Eleanor Helm of Tufts 10 minutes into this game. Back in the first quarter, Johns Hopkins answered less than 2 minutes later off a chaotic corner that goes in from Vander and Zimmerman. and some chances for both teams late in this game, Kara.
Yeah, close for Johns Hopkins too. 2 shots going wide of the post. This team having the ability to finish inside the circle will be key. And then this is truly a freshman mistake. It inserted up to Helm at the R1 position along the circle and just bobbles it. Foot foul. Time's expired.
That was with 3.5 seconds when that corner started. And that national championship trophy is on the line. Johns Hopkins was out. They've been ready to go for almost 2 minutes for this start of 7-on-7 sudden death overtime. Next goal wins the national championship. 6 field players plus a goalie on both sides. For Johns Hopkins, their second overtime game here at the final site. A total now of 2 overtime games for Johns Hopkins on the year. The win over Babson in double overtime, a win against York in double OT back in September. Meanwhile, Tufts also 2 overtime games this year, 1-1, with a win in double overtime against Williams in the second round of this tournament, and also a loss to Babson in the regular season. So, not the largest number of overtime experience, but certainly some.
A huge theme for Johns Hopkins this year has been the depth in their roster. I think given this overtime format, that plays to be a big advantage, and also just keeping the legs fresh and keeping the speed high.
Helm tries to step through again. It's up to 2 10-minute periods. Inside, Tufts perhaps for its second ever national title! It's in! And Tufts has won! Camille Clark scores! And for now, it's the second ever national championship for the Jumbos.
Time has been taken on the field, so the umpires will be using a video referral to take a look at this goal. I believe Johns Hopkins did use their team review.
Talk about nerves. They've gone upstairs to look at video review. If there is no change, Tufts will have its second ever national championship. Let's take a look.
Tufts got into their attacking circle immediately. Camille Clark all over the ball. Now, because this is on her reverse, they might be checking to see if the backside of the stick was touched on that shot coming off the reverse and the stick of Clark. See, number 5 in white is able to open up and actually misdirected or redirected.
Oh, Picard got a piece of it.
Great touch.
My goodness.
Fantastic hand-eye coordination there.
So you've got to look at Picard's stick. Of course, if the initial touch was no good, then it stops there.
Yeah, they will go to the first foul. Johns Hopkins defense playing excellent the entire game, not giving Tufts any time inside the circle. I was impressed how Tufts was able to immediately enter their 16.
The decision has been rendered. Here we go. Everyone is fixed towards 3 individuals, and that's it. No clear evidence to change the call. National championship for the Tufts Jumbos. Second ever in program history, and first since 2012. And Hannah Picard with the deflection of her life. The Bows reign in 2025 and hoist that trophy in Hartford.
One of the last messages that the coaching staff for Tufts gave to their team was just to live it up. It's a special environment to be on the national championship stage, and this team certainly is living it up in 2025. All players on this squad have bought in since the offseason. They just continue to chip away at their season goals. And what a way to close out a national championship in overtime.
And a game that after Tufts took the lead from 1-0 all the way, really, to the start of overtime, mid-fourth quarter. Johns Hopkins had control. Tufts did not have a single shot in the second or the third quarter, only one in the fourth. A huge one, though, here in overtime. And we did not even see the Picard deflection live. What a moment for the Tufts Jumbos, who were the NESCAC regular season champions. They lost in the conference tournament semifinals on their own field in Medford, Mass. And boy, did that galvanize the group. 5 wins in less than 2 weeks. And the Tufts Jumbos stand atop the Division III field hockey mountain in 2025.
Huge testament to the belief of this team in Tufts, losing in the semifinal. And then at this point in the season, with the single game elimination format, you have to be able to fix things quickly in order to make a deep run in the national championship. And the group has completely bought in. I think the work paid off.
I think so. I do think so. Now on the other side, Johns Hopkins. What a season. But also what a difficult moment. There's the best in these situations. There is unfortunately trials and tribulations. This will mark the 4th time in 5 years that Johns Hopkins gets to the national title game, but comes up oh so short in this, the thinnest of margins.
A lot of players coming back too for Johns Hopkins. They have some youth on the team that now have the experience in the national championship. Have to be proud with how their defense played for a majority of the game. Overtime, different story, but there were some positives for Johns Hopkins in today.
Now the Blue Jays will finish a fine season 22-2. Tufts will end it 19-3, and as national champions for the 2nd time in program history. For the first time in 8 years, it's a new champ, but it stays in the NESCAC after Middlebury won 7 straight. Tufts wins here in 2025. Well, Kara, this was one heck of a weekend. We saw some great hockey. 3 one-goal games, 2 went to overtime. Just sensational here. And
it started right from the first whistle on that first semifinal on Friday. Have been impressed with the level of intensity throughout the whole weekend. The pace of play has been a huge testament to just how strong Division III is this year.
Well, coming up shortly, we will have the award ceremony presentation for the Jumbos and the Blue Jays. That is going to do it for Kara and I, but of course stay here as the Jumbos will embrace their faithful. I almost forgot the trophy. Bring that with you. Don't lose sight of it. Coming up next, it will be the award ceremony here in Hartford for our entire team, led by Andrea Crawford. For Kara Lentz, I'm Drew Casey. We say goodbye, but you stay here and watch the continued celebration. The Tufts Jumbos, the 2025 Division III Field Hockey National Champions.
Of the championship trophies and individual awards. Presenting the awards are NCAA Division III Field Hockey Committee members. The chair, Wendy Andriana, head field hockey coach, University of Rochester. L.A. Lane from Clark University. Chris Ramsdell from Worcester State University. Therese Doyle from Keene University. Megan Corrigan from Albernia University, and Carrie Austin from University of the South. First, we would like to recognize this year's all-tournament team. As your name is called, please step forward towards the awards table. First, for Christopher Newport, midfielder Courtney Hewlett. Next, for Christopher Newport, forward Lindsay Lord. For Babson, goalkeeper Madison Tibbles. And for Babson, forward Caroline DiGiovanni. For Johns Hopkins, forward Sophia Albano. For Johns Hopkins, forward Megan Chang. And for Johns Hopkins, midfielder Taylor Robinson. For Tufts, forward Eleanor Howard. For Tufts, defender Claire Casey. For Tufts, midfielder Gabby Souza. Member of the all-tournament team, and also awarded the most outstanding player of the tournament, Tufts University forward Hannah. Now, we would like to present the team awards. First, the second place team. We would like to present the team awards. First, the second place team, finishing with a record of 22-2, Johns Hopkins University. Representing Johns Hopkins, Emma Longo, manager. Ari Acevedo, manager. Taylor Bean, athletic trainer. Jada Bradford, athletic trainer. Mitch Hanna, strength coach. And Jenna Halpin. Now, recognizing these additional members of Johns Hopkins. Number 1, Eliza Vander. Number 2, Emi Akutani. Number 3, Catherine Darcy. Number 4, Ava Zimmerman. Number 5, Sophia Albano. Number 6, Sienna No. Number 7, Dawn Tran. Number 8, Rosie Raquel. Number 9, Kaylee Robinson. Number 10, Megan Chang. Number 11, Grace Nichols. Number 12, Julia White. Number 13, Edie Ham. Number 14, Josephine Rich. Number 16, Caitlin Cowell. Number 17, Ada Farmer. Number 18, Zoe Bennett. Number 19, Mia Edmond. Number 20, Joyce Tower. Number 21, Mia Fleming. Number 22, Cameron Eason. Number 23, Eve Fowler. Number 25, Grace Walden. Number 26, Sophie Odioni. Number 27, Sarah Shepard. Number 34, Zoya Iyer. Number 35, Dee Bola. Number 77, Jessica Pettis. Number 99, Aubrey Kilgore. Assistant coach, Claire Schrilling. Assistant coach, Kristen O'Rourke. Associate head coach, James Albanese. And head coach, Jane Wells. Will the team captains please come forward to accept the second place team trophy? The Johns Hopkins University Blue Jays. And now, the 2025 NCAA Division III National Champion, 19-3, University. Number 1, Hannah Murray. Number 2, Sophie Grant. Number 3, Eleanor Helm. Number 5, Camille Clark. Number 6, Kate Lawler. Number 7, Scarlett Carpenter. Number 8, Jordan Hideano. Number 9, Ellie Wilkins. Number 10, Ruby Pearson. Number 11, Ainsley Allen. Number 13, Marina Phillip. Number 15, Lynn Ragusa. Number 16, Gabby Sousa. Number 17, Regan Melo. Number 18, Tanya Deb. Number 22, Hannah Bickar. Number 23, Claire Casey. Number 24, Riley Schmidt. Number 25, Eleanor Locke. Number 35, Isabel Gibbs. Number 44, Lydia Eastwood. Number 77, Molly Hall. Assistant coach, Troy Servell. Assistant coach, Katie Weaver. Associate head coach, Megan Casey. head coach, Tina McCarroll. Please come forward to accept the National Championship Trophy. Congratulations to the team members of Tufts University.